All right, welcome back. Part two of our discussion today. This discussion, we wanted to we wanted to take a look at, there's some research, some discussion on the idea that our brains, human beings, our brains are wired in a certain way to avoid exercise, just in a way that we're wired to conserve energy. And so you sent this to me. I thought it was interesting. You and I both, enjoy exercising and make a routine out of exercising. So I know I was interested in your opinion on this. Huh?
I said less and less as I age. it hurts more.
It hurts more. It hurts so good though. But so what was your thought on just this idea that we have to overcome our own wiring in our brain to exercise consistently?
No, I thought it was cool. I was reminded in reading this that humans as well as horses are the only mammals that sweat. I've always found that interesting. Why it's us and horses. No other primates don't do it, and I guess other bovines or whatever a horse is don't do it either. But no, you're right, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about in reading that article, the idea that, and I think just in nature, right? There's a lot of activity when you're in the wild, especially I'm sure when humans were hunter-gatherers, you're always moving around. So the brain naturally is trying to conserve energy so that you're not wasting calories and precipitating your demise even quicker. So the article gave a good example, like the brain is wired not to walk 20 miles just to get a handful of berries, because that would be too much, expending too much energy for the reward of just a few calories for all that walking and energy that you use. So in that sense, it makes sense that the shortest distance between 2 points for the human body is the straight line. And, do something, expend the energy, and then conserve
for the immediate payoff, not the immediate payoff that's supposed to outweigh the energy that you spend. Yeah. To me, what really stood out to me was just that our bodies are like the product of millions of years of evolution that is wired to thrive or survive amongst scarcity. Like it seems like this would be the same. This would be the comparable piece of our minds that makes us want to overeat. Like it says, okay, when there's calories around, you better eat as many as you can, because you don't know, like, hey, winter's coming, or we may not come up on this type of, this level of abundance. Abundance isn't going to be perpetually available. And so when there is abundance, we got to take advantage, and then that will allow our body. That's why we can store fat. That's why we can do all those things. So to me, the exercise piece is like,
or you got teenage kids in the house, and you just
that's the thing. Our society, and we haven't changed, but our society.
I gotta eat fast, or else my sons will eat all the food.
There you go. That's you just have a bunch of teenagers in the house, and then that'll create the scarcity you need in the house. But yeah, the exercise thing is the same thing. Like that is, you're exercising for an abstract reason, so to speak. Like you're not. If I go and go lift weights, I'm not then going to get something tangible out of that at that moment. Like it's not going to be, okay, I go lift up, a rock and roll it to the top of a mountain or a hill and then push it down. And then it rolls over a deer or something like that. And then I can eat the deer, it's like, then pushing that boulder up the mountain was worth it, so to speak, in the short term. So I think that part was very interesting to me, just how, like we have to keep in mind that we are wired in ways that is designed to survive in scarcity. And when we live in a land of abundance, that completely throws everything off. And the same piece, though, and then the piece, the other part about this was the article talked about how to kind of also focus on the long-term benefits. Because when you're talking about exercise, that's really what you're talking about. Or even, watching what you eat or something like that. They're talking about the long-term benefits. And your brain has that kind of wiring in it too. It's not as prominent or prevalent. So, I mean, like that part about it, like for either comment on that, or just how do you yourself, kind of get the motive or keep the motivation going for your walks and for your exercising in the garage and stuff?
Vanity.
Hey, so I guess so is that an immediate payoff, or is that a long-term payoff?
That's probably both. No, it was like funny. I was thinking about why don't I just be honest and say, hey, I work out because I like staying in shape and looking good. Like, I'll just be honest with that. And I'm not saying it in an arrogant way, like I'm so good looking. What I mean is,
But you would be worse looking if you didn't work out.
Yeah, it feels good to be in shape, right? And to be able to still fit into my high school basketball jersey if I pull it out of the closet. So that feels good. I'm not going to lie, right? But I would say this on a serious note. It's at a point for me, because I've been living this way so long, that it really is a lifestyle. I don't have to think about it. So I'm not sitting there every morning saying, oh, I got to work out just so I can still have a six pack or something. It's just more of, I've just conditioned my body. I eat a certain way. I exercise a certain way, where if I go off that track, I just don't feel good. If I start eating too much processed food and certain things, like I don't eat potato chips, I don't drink sodas, things like that. So if I start doing that, I mean, I literally will have a stomach ache for, the whole second half of the day. I'll feel miserable, and just, my body just rejects that kind of stuff. So I think part of it is, but I didn't used to always be like that. I mean, I grew up eating junk food and just being a regular American kid. So there must have been a period of time, maybe my 20s or early 30s, where I really spent enough time not eating certain things that when I tried them again, my body just didn't like it. That's one thing. And then the second thing, I don't know if this comes with more being a male or something, or just, the athlete part of me that's still there, even as I age. That same thing with movement. If I don't walk, at least do something physical almost on a daily basis, again, I feel kind of jittery and fidgety, like, I get depressed and all that. So for me, it's really part of my lifestyle, just moving, exercising, eating right and all that. So that's why I say the vanity part is fun, but the serious part is just, and I think as I've aged, I mean, it's funny, we joke even sometimes in private conversations, right? Like, I can't drink bottom shelf liquor since I turned 41 back in the day, I remember in college, I could drink a half a bottle of Southern Comfort and feel great the next day. Now I got to drink like the Jack Daniel's single barrel, $80 bottle. And that's the only way I can wake up the next morning and function. Because if I drink bottom shelf liquor, it takes 3 days. And the way that I work now, which I need a lot of brain energy, I got to be on point mentally. I don't like that feeling. So then I just shy away from that kind of consuming those kind of things. And so I think all that. No, I mean, is what
you threw a lot out there. I'd say from the article we did, which will be in the show notes, the idea of the brain being able to, like, this short term versus long term, I thought was very instructive, as far as like, okay, yeah, that's the wiring that we have. Kind of the unconscious is that short term, and it's the conscious that can actually hold these long term goals, and that's a way to overcome the feeling of, like, oh, like your body is literally telling you, in the unconscious part of your body, don't go to the gym, don't do it. And so how do you work through that in a time when it's not like you have infinite time, so you got to overcome a lot of things to work out consistently. I'll use a different word, but I think you're really onto something. Once you become acclimated to a certain way of living, then it seems like your body does try to maintain that. And so that can work in both ways. If you're acclimated to little movement and potentially bad eating, then like you have the hunger pains. And if you try to go off of that, your body, there's an adjustment period. I think the reverse works as well, because I'm the same as you. Like, if I go a couple of days without exercising, then I feel different. I feel more sluggish. I feel like my brain doesn't pop as well. And so I feel like I'm acclimated to working out, exercising, whether it's hard working out or taking long walks or whatever. Like, I'm acclimated to that in a way that my body now expects it. And that's part of me maintaining kind of my homeostasis, is being in that kind of mindset. And the conversion, to piggyback on something you said, is how your body becomes more sensitive to things as you get older. Like, for me, vanity is less of an issue as far as why I do it. It's more performance, honestly. Like, I want to be able to get out with my kids and do stuff. I don't want to be, hurting myself every time I go try to shoot hoops with my kids, or, toss a baseball or football or something like that. So, I like to be able to, obviously I'm not going to be able to perform the way I could at 20, but I'm still at an age where I can do things pretty well, and so I like that. I like to be able to do that. And so a lot of my exercising is geared towards not looking, super this or that, but also like my muscles working well and so forth. So I think that you can find motivation in different things that may appeal to you, and that's, the different things will motivate different people. But ultimately, it's going to just be an uphill climb. I mean, that's what I took away from this, is that the acclimation piece can help, but you're busy, and then you're already, your body's wired to try to conserve calories. Hey, the drought is coming, so to speak, in our bodies at all times. And so, like the acclimation can help, the long-term goals or the overriding goals that you have. But ultimately, it seems like it's going to be a day-to-day battle for people in general. And, like the other thing I'll say is habituating, scheduling it, have it so it's part of your schedule can help. But I mean, it's one of those things that it doesn't ever become like second nature, like it always becomes something that it's okay, it's time to do this. Let's do it. Let's not procrastinate it. Then you might run out of time or whatever. So, but it was interesting to see the reaffirming of like, okay, yeah. There's some level of intentionality that's required with this.
Yeah. And I think part of it, I mean, so there's a couple of things you said that I'll pick apart in observation, which is number one, the intentionality part, I think partly comes from just the way we've developed our own way of living in our culture. So, for example, I saw a documentary, I think it was on Netflix, about aging and kind of looking at why people in certain regions of the world like live to 100 more than, in terms of the overall population more than other regions. I found it fascinating when they looked at Okinawa in Japan, because what they were showing people in their late 90s. I'm talking like 97, 98 years old, like ripped, just looking great. And moving around still and all that.
So that's the poster you put up over your bench press right there. That's the poster you have up. Those are the goals.
No, because we don't have that lifestyle here. That's why I don't want to be alive at 100 in America, because I'll be, in and out of freaking, nursing homes and hospitals at that age. Now, because number one, I'm sure their food is different and all that, not processed and all that. So that's a whole different conversation. But what I'm getting at here is the fact that what I realize, everything's low. Meaning in that culture, where they live in that part of Japan, meaning their beds are low, they eat on the floor, right? Everything. So what happens is they're doing 60 to 80 squats every day just by bending and getting up to eat, go to bed, the way they sit and talk, it's all on the ground. So, and there's other cultures like that too. So that's what they were saying, that just naturally they incorporate that kind of movement into their daily routines. And it just, like you're saying, it naturally helps them because they're physically continuing to move their bodies through their lifetime.
It actually takes less intentionality because the way that society is designed, like you've seen that also with cultures where walking exactly. and that kind of stuff is just more a part of your day-to-day life. Like you're just
anyone who's been to Europe in traffic for 30 versus the United States will recognize, that walking and all that, it makes a big difference and impact long-term on the entire population. And so that's one thing. The second thing that you mentioned, I think is good to mention here is, again, this is part of, I think, just the culture we've developed and how we do things like work, commute to work, to and back and from work in our country, in terms of the amount of people sitting in cars and all that, is if the brain is looking to conserve calories and energy at a subconscious level, then of course working out is much harder for us in the United States, because we're so burnt out and stressed from just other parts of our life. So that's why, to your point about making it intentional and acclimating it into our schedule, makes sense in the United States. Like, all right, I got to do an hour of exercise every day, and kind of putting it in, because if you're not that intentional, your body naturally will not want to work out on its own. That's why, like for me personally,
and it'll acclimate to other ways of dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it may become like a pharmaceutical solution.
Turning to drugs and alcohol.
That's what I'm saying. It could be a pharmaceutical solution. It could be a food type of solution, like other things. Yeah. And so, it's a great point that your body's going to look for another way to outlet that, that whatever's built up and so forth. So it's something that, can make a difference. But that's going down a whole nother path. Do want to wrap.
That's another show.
Let's wrap the show from there. We appreciate everybody for joining us on this episode of Call Like I See It. Subscribe to the podcast, rate it, review it, tell us what you think, send it to a friend. Till next time, I'm James Keys.
I'm Tunde Ogumana.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.